The thing that we're really passionate and proud of is that we give 100%. If you donate $1 to someone who's walking or to one of the events that we sponsor, it's going directly to a researcher. And so last year we were able to support 4 different researchers. Part of what enabled us to do that is we did have a bit of a reserve that we had to dip into in order to do that this past year. But this year we had one of our researchers who actually finished their research early, and they were able to give back $38,000.
Wow.
So that money will be going towards a research grant for this year. So that's going to hopefully allow us to fund another 4 researchers. One of the things that we would like to be able to, that we kind of want to throw out there is if everyone who walks could bring one more person with them, if we could raise 10%, each person raise 10% more money, we could absolutely fund 4 more researchers this year. So that's our ask of everybody here. If everyone could think of doing that, that would be amazing. And thank you, everybody. Again, this is looking at all the people that are here, everyone who's willing to come, and all the work that everyone's done. It makes me so proud to be part of an organization like this. I can't tell you how happy I am to be standing here.
Email from the Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Ms. Brianne Ryan. We were shocked, pleased, and great to have her here because we've built a pretty good relationship with Dana-Farber over the years, as I'm sure Brianne will mention. I have, on some of the trips that Sandy and I have made up to Dana-Farber, because we try to go up and meet some of the researchers, I had occasion to meet Brianne. But I have to say that in talking to her today, I like her even more. Not only is she a Brooklyn native like myself, she went to the same high school as my sisters, and I got married in the parish church that she's familiar with in Brooklyn. So we have and those of you who know my love for Boston College, her husband is an associate dean at BC. So this is terrific. I feel like I've known her all my life now. But for somebody like this to come and want to speak to our organization, I think is a big thrill. So Brianne, please.
Thank you so much. Everybody can hear me, right? And the Brooklyn accent, yes? Everybody can hear me. Thank you, John. It was so nice to chat with you and get to know you as well. And for such a large city that Brooklyn is, it's amazing how we were saying how we always find each other and all the connections. So I'm so thrilled to be here this evening. And as John mentioned, I work at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and in my role at Dana-Farber, I have the pleasure of working with all of the researchers who conduct their groundbreaking work within our Susan F. Smith Center for Women's Cancers. And in my role, I help these researchers identify and apply for grants from mission-driven organizations, including the Terry Brodeur Breast Cancer Foundation. Again, I'm so grateful to be here tonight. This is an area that I actually don't get to visit a lot on my drives to New York, so I'm so happy to be here. And I was hoping to be joined by the 2 Dana-Farber grantees, Dr. Veerle Daniels and Ana Garrido Castro, and they are unfortunately both occupied for good reasons with their work. Veerle is in the lab right now, and Ana is seeing patients. She has a full clinic load today. So I know that you all understand here that science doesn't sleep, but they do sense their sincere regrets and thanks for all that you do. And I've been at Dana-Farber for close to 8 years, just about 7.5 years, and in my role, I really enjoy coming to events like this and meeting all of the passionate people here and just learning more about your connections to the organization. On a personal level, it's incredibly inspiring. And the Foundation's mission is one that really resonates with me. Your commitment to funding breast cancer research, in particular junior researchers, is unique and it's important and it's making a difference. So thank you all very much for what you do and listening to me speak tonight. Going back to our history, Dana-Farber's history with Terry Brodeur, we have received grants from the Terry Brodeur Breast Cancer Foundation for 9 years. The entire 7.5 years that I've been at Dana-Farber, I've known about Terry Brodeur Foundation, and my colleagues have told me the wonderful things about everything that you do, and it's so wonderful again to be here and meet all of you. the 9-year milestone is one that is so tremendous, and through all of your work and all of your fundraising and all of your volunteering, you've made so many research milestones possible that I know Dr. Garabedian will talk about, but it really has made a difference. And over those 9 years, I'm a big stats person, so I think numbers tell a good story. Over those 9 years, 19 researchers have been funded for a total of, everybody ready, $1.9 million. I think you all can agree with me that these figures are truly incredible, nothing short of incredible, and are a testament to your committed vision to finding a cure and better treatments for breast cancer. And again, so inspiring to hear that number and say $1.9 million out loud this evening. And our 2 researchers that are funded by the Terry Brodorf Breast Cancer Foundation, again, are young and junior investigators who are conducting some incredibly cutting-edge science. And that's important because these are 2 women that are starting out their own independent research labs, and they are unable to secure a lot of the federal grants from the NIH and the NCI. So this foundation's money is helping to launch their independent research careers, which again is so important because these are the scientists and the leaders of tomorrow. And again, I know they look forward to meeting the foundation when you come for your annual visit, hopefully this fall, maybe spring. We'll plan it, but I know they're looking forward to presenting on their work. A couple of highlights about the work that is going on by the Terry Brodorf funded investigators. And I'm not going to get too in the weeds. I have a bachelor's degree in English. So again, I think it was Patty that said she's not a scientist. I've only worked in science, so I think I've absorbed some, but I don't want to misspeak, so I'll just go quickly over the research summary, so I'll have to look at my paper here. Veerle Daniels is focusing her research in developing more targeted treatments for patients with triple-negative breast cancer. She is seeking to identify specific metabolic pathways to target in combination with chemotherapy in order to better combat triple-negative breast cancer. Ana Garrido Castro is the second investigator that the Terry Brodorf Breast Cancer Foundation is funding this year, and her research is focusing on comparing tumor biology and clinical outcomes of patients whose tumors were triple negative and then developed tumors that switched their subtype and later became triple negative. To date, both of these areas of research are something that have not been looked at by other researchers. So again, this is really exciting, cutting-edge work that the foundation is supporting. And I think that both of these research overviews really show, again, how the foundation is supporting exciting work in breast oncology that's being conducted by rising stars in the field. And this is something, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other opinions, that differentiates the foundation that everybody here is so involved with, is that, again, you're supporting research that is conducted by people who are starting their own independent research careers, and they would not be able to launch their projects without your support. Again, I can't stress enough how exciting the science is, and I know you'll hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but without everything that everyone here does, their programs would not be as successful as they are, so thank you so much for that. And looking back sort of at the historical relationship that we have, again, I mentioned Dana-Farber's been a recipient for 9 years. When I was at my desk this morning looking back at some of the research that's been funded by the foundation in the past, it's just incredible to see where the researchers are now. I know I, in my role at Dana-Farber, work closely with 2 of the former Terry Brodorf grantees, one of whom is up for promotion right now, which is incredibly exciting. Her work continues to move forward. I just met with her yesterday, Heather Parsons. She came, I think, to a recent meeting. Heather is on the, almost pretty much there to publishing a really exciting manuscript. And all of this work would not be possible without the foundation's support and the seed grant that was provided to launch our research program. So incredibly exciting there. And in closing, I really want to thank everyone again in the foundation and everybody here for your role in supporting this exciting research at Dana-Farber. Over the past 9 years, it really has made such an impact. And again, as I look at my 7.5 years at Dana-Farber, I was always told by colleagues just how wonderful this organization is to work with, about Sandy, and I met with Amy a few months ago. It's been an incredible experience working with you all and meeting you tonight, and I look forward to many more years of partnership and exciting research breakthroughs. Thank you so much.
And we are blessed with an outstanding scientific advisory board. It's chaired by Nick Sacamano. Some of us knew Nick when he worked at Pfizer some years ago. Nick left Pfizer, I won't guess how many years, but 7 or 8 years, and went to Array Pharmaceuticals, which is looking for treatments for cancer. They were in the news on Monday because Pfizer, of all companies, bought Array for $11 billion. Now, as much as we all love Nick, I'm not sure he's worth the price. But, in fact, Nick and some other Pfizer researchers, as well as his whole organization in Boulder, Colorado, have come up with so many new promising oncology treatments, as well as a combination of colon cancer that's already in the market, that Pfizer saw fit to not only buy them, but they're going to keep them in operation. That's the chair of our scientific advisory board. Also on the scientific advisory board is another scientist that you ex-Pfizer might know, Mike Morin, who is the chief scientific officer of Immunome Biotech in Pennsylvania, and they've come up with a very exciting platform to discover multiple new targets for treating all types of cancers, including breast cancer. But that's the discovery side. Then we are on the development side, and we are blessed with two people who actually are here tonight, both Susan Logan and Michael Garabedian, both practicing oncologists and very knowledgeable in this field. And so I will sit, so we get, Michael will probably talk a little bit about this, we get about 25 or so proposals every year. And I'm part of the conversations, and I just sit there in awe, because you have people who are expert in this field, from the earliest stages of idea generation to actual clinical practice. And this, and I'm not saying this just because this group of advisors we have on the Scientific Advisory Board are as good as any review board for any oncology programs in this country, and I would include the National Institutes of Health and the NCI as partners. They are outstanding. They know researchers at these places, they know cutting-edge research, they know where treatments are going, and they're the ones who are deciding what grants to fund. And it's wonderful to see. And we need some decision making, because we get a bunch of proposals every year. We can't fund them all. Now, we did 4 last year, we're going to do 4 this year, I believe, and that's wonderful. But without these people, we'd sort of be flailing around the dark. So we have Michael tonight, who's going to talk a little bit about the process. And Michael, really thrilled to have you. It's terrific.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Garabedian. I'm a faculty member at NYU School of Medicine. I do basic research in oncology. Of course, I'm also better known as Susan Logan's husband, Max Logan's uncle, Stephen and Jean Logan, and Michael and Norma Logan's brother-in-law. So I have a personal connection to the foundation. So I first met Norma when Susan and I were dating, actually back in 1982, a long time. And I think about Norma every day, and I miss her every day. And as you heard, the foundation, I think Norma's vision and Sandy's vision of having a foundation that raises money, that 100% of it goes to research is really astounding. They don't want the money going to overhead, they don't want it to go to me, they don't want it going to the food. You need volunteers, you need other people to help step up, because the walkers that you raise money, you want it to go to research. And I'm going to here today to try to talk to you about what does that mean? What does it mean to raise money for research? What does that mean for you? And sorry. And so what's all your hard work and all the tired feet from walking accomplished towards curing breast cancer? And I know you've heard at past meetings some of the recipients of the research talking about the research and the dollars that they've used from the dollars you raised. But this year we thought we'd give you a little sense of what the how we select the individuals for those awards. So as I said, I'm a scientist and basic research, and my goal here is to really convince you that you all are at the forefront of cancer research. By raising money to fund these young researchers, you're all investing in the future cure of breast cancer. And as we heard, these are young researchers that are really at the prime. They're young, they're exciting, they're smart, passionate, dedicated towards curing breast cancer. You hear a lot in the news about cancer in general, breast cancer as well, but there is some good news. I mean, if you look, statistically, cancer rates are falling, and they have been from 2007 on. So they're getting fewer, and also, for instance, even for breast cancer, the 5-year survival rate is up to 90%. So there is hope, and things are getting better. Still a long way to go, but there is some good news. So why is that? So why are things getting a little bit better? And I think there's really two main reasons, and I'll try to articulate those a little bit. One is that there's better screening, so we can tell cancer earlier now than we used to, and that's a great thing, because if you catch it early, you can get rid of it. And then the other thing is we have more therapeutic options. We understand, because of the research, we understand how the cancer is wired and how it works. So for example, you've probably heard in the news, there's been a lot of talk about genomics or genetics, or however you want to think about it. But really, it's asking a very simple question, and that's what scientists do. We ask kind of simple questions. In fact, all you are equally probably scientists. You're just curious about things, like why is a tumor cell different than a normal cell? So why is a breast cancer cell a breast cancer cell, a normal breast cell a normal breast cell? What makes them different? And so now we understand that. We have the whole blueprint of the tumor cell, and we have the whole blueprint of the normal cell. And there are a lot of differences, not surprisingly. The challenge was, of course, figuring out which differences matter. So it's a little like looking at your house and seeing a big beam across and wondering if that beam is really the load-bearing beam or not. And if you took it down, the whole thing would crash versus some decorative beam, right? We want to find the load-bearing beam. We want to find that Achilles heel in the cancer cell so we can have it crash down on itself, so we can cut it out, break it down, and have it come down. And so it's taking a little bit of time to figure out what those things are, those important, what we call drivers of cancer, the things that are really promoting the cancers. And when we know the relevant changes, when we know those things that are really important, we can go after them, and that's what the pharmaceutical industry is great at. If you know the target, they're really quite good at hitting the targets. And we know many more targets, and since the early days, when even in the case of Norma, there's been great strides in understanding and targeting breast cancer. And it works, and that's part of the reason why we're seeing the rates of cancer in general going down and the survival rates going down. And another area that John alluded to is something called immune oncology. You might have heard again of this in the news. And it's the idea of having our immune system fight off the cancer. So trying to utilize our immune system to attack the cancer. And our immune system is a really wonderful thing. I mean, it's complicated, but it keeps us safe from all kinds of infections and keeps us, battles things that are not like us, basically. And so it was realized way back when, even when I was a graduate student 1,000 years ago, that, we know the tumor cells are different, why isn't our immune system just taking care of it? And it took a long time to realize that it's complicated. It's probably an excuse that a lot of scientists use. But in fact, we didn't understand the immune system. There's things that activate the immune system, like a gas pedal. There are things that inhibit the immune systems, like a brake on a car. And we didn't really understand the relationships. And decades of work from dozens and dozens of researchers really cracked the identity of the immune system. And that's been harnessed so we can now take the brakes off when we need it and have the immune system attack the tumor. And the good news is that when it works really well. So they get really robust responses, and the tumors often, in untreatable cancers, often will go away. It doesn't work for everyone. They're trying to figure out why it only works for some and not others, but that we'll get there. So really this kind of long-range thinking and planning and working in the scientific community has really led to these breakthroughs, and that leads to better outcomes for patients and also longer survival times. So talk a little bit about how we select our recipients for the grants. And these are the people that you fund, that are funding for the future of this cancer research. And again, as you heard before, they're early stage, mid-stage investigators that are really at the cusp and at their height of their scientific prowess and are able to really do remarkable things. And so, as John mentioned, there's a scientific advisory board that Nick is the head of, Mike Moran, Susan Logan, myself, and John. And I think, again, the thing that's unique about the foundation is that we request applications from the top cancer research areas, institutes in the Northeast, typically. And so we get wonderful people from Dana-Farber, we get people from Mass General, we get people from NYU, we get people from University of Pennsylvania, we get people from Conn College. I mean, you name it, we get the best. And so the board, so that's that local kind of grassroots funding of local cancer research groups is important. But also, as John alluded to, we have a scientific board that has both basic scientists like Susan and myself who are into discovery. I mean, so what basic science does is we identify new things. We identify areas that hadn't been identified before, and we try to, develop those into potential therapeutic targets for then companies such as Pfizer or other drug companies to come in and develop drugs against those. And so Susan and I have the basic understanding of the kind of cutting-edge cancer research that's going on, and Nick and Mike come from the pharmaceutical side, and they understand can this thing actually be promoted or moved into a more clinical area that could eventually lead to a cure or help in the breast cancer area. So, as John pointed out, it's really an impressive group of individuals. I'm not necessarily myself, but the rest of the group is, and we have very high standards, and we've all done this since the get-go, so we've been doing it for 13 years, so we know each other quite well and understand what's really good science. And so we do get a bunch of applications. It's always a little scary when the email comes that here are the applications, because you get 25 or so, and everybody reads all of them. So we have 8 pages and lots of information that you have to go through. It takes time, but it's worth it. And then we score them. Each of us have our own score sheet, and we rank them for creativity and the kind of the science behind it and the applicant. And so we come to a score. And then we get on the phone, and through a conference call, we all discuss them. We kind of rank, and we share each other's opinions to the group, and we come to consensus of maybe about, we're going to fund 4. We pick about 4 or 5 to 6, maybe 1 or 2 more that we're going to potentially fund. And then I think the other thing that's really quite unique, and this is a really testament to Nick, he actually calls every applicant that makes the cut, so out of these 5 or 6, and interviews them on the phone. And that really gets to the heart of how passionate they are in their research, how much they really understand. Someone might look great on paper and have all these wonderful accomplishments, but when push comes to shove, when he's talking to them and asking questions, they don't really understand what they're doing. And or vice versa, there may be someone that maybe didn't look so great on paper, but when you talk to them, they blow your socks off. And that's really an important component to the selection process. And so, what did you guys choose? So I'm using you all because you really are the people that make this all possible. I mean, we got the fun part of really getting to look at all the great science and trying to understand and pick the best ones. But so one of the things that you chose was, as we alluded to, that cancer cells are a little bit different, as I pointed out, than normal cells. And actually, the food they eat is different. So they have a different metabolism. They ingest different things, and they run off different fuels. And so the idea is that if you can identify what those foods are, what those fuels are, you can try to starve the cancer cell. And since it's not used by the normal cell, it doesn't hurt the normal cells. So that's one area that we're funding. And that, of course, it's going to take a while for that to translate into the clinic, but it's a really interesting idea, and it's a new way to come in and attack the tumors that haven't been thought of before. And another scientist we funded, not at Dana-Farber, but was interested in understanding why some breast cancer patients remain free of breast cancer for years, even decades, and then it comes back. And so it turns out that there are cancer cells that remain dormant. They're kind of like hibernating, bears, and they wake up, and they aren't killed by the drugs initially, and they sit there dormant for years, and then somehow they come back. And again, the question that, from a research point of view, is why? And we have really no idea. But it's a problem, and that can be something that we're trying to get at. So one of the researchers has ways of trying to understand this. So she's trying to understand what signals wake up the dormant cells, what are just like in hibernation. Spring comes and the bear wakes up. So why do these cells wake up? What are the signals that may invoke that? And so if we knew that, of course, we could go in and try to block those signals so the cells wouldn't come back again or wake up. Or if they do wake up, can we figure out new ways to try to kill them? So can we keep them dormant? Or once they wake up, can we find better ways to kill them? And so that's kind of this new work that's going on. This is work that you guys have funded. And I know at times it probably seems like cancer is winning. We've all had stories of people that we love that have been afflicted with cancer. But I think there's hope. We're understanding more and more about how to attack the tumors in more precise ways and more durable ways so it lasts longer, fewer side effects. And we understand how to harness our body's immune system to kill the tumors, and I think that's going to be a huge game changer moving forward. But we still need to invest in the future, and that's where you all are key. And again, it's research that drives medicine. It's the research behind it. I mean, the oncologists, the physicians are fabulous. They do amazing work. But it's really the basic researchers that you guys are funding through your efforts that are making the difference. It takes a long time, unfortunately, but it's a great system, and the walkers the researchers that you funded through your efforts are really the future. And again, I think all this work will ultimately lead to the eradication of breast cancer. It takes some time, but know that all of you are part of the cure. So thank you.
So many of you who've been to these meetings, annual meetings, know that we've historically given out an award called the 27th Mile Club Award, and it's to those individuals, people, teams, or organizations that have really contributed a lot to the organization over many years. I'm here to tell you we're not giving out any of those awards this year, but we are going to be giving out a one-time 28th Mile Club Award, or as I like to call it, the Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award, which we will be giving out tonight. And there's only one person I can think of that is deserving of this, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about this person. And they're not going to be happy that I'm probably doing this, by the way. I just want to be clear about that. But I'm going to read this so I don't forget anything. So let me tell you a little bit about this person that we want to honor. She's been a member of the board since the start of the foundation. She was one of Norma Logan's heroes who walked the 3-day walk for another organization, which is where the idea for the Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation came from. She has represented TBBCF at hundreds of events and accepted thousands of dollars of checks on behalf of the foundation. She was the walk team lead for pit stops for 7 years. She chairs our website committee and led the team that revamped our website. She has provided walker training to support. She has represented Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation on TV. She walked 5 quarter marathons and 6 full marathons, personally raising many thousands of dollars for research. She started the first TBBCF intern program. She has personally visited many of our research grant recipients at their institutions. She has recruited many of the TBBF sponsors over the years. She has recruited many of the board members and volunteers. She was executive director of TBBCF, I believe, more than once. She was our Director of Development and Outreach, a role she just stepped down from, with some excuse about wanting to retire and spend more time in travel with her husband, Phil, and their family. However, she will stay involved overseeing our website and e-marketing, so she's not entirely retiring. A few comments about this person from other board members. One board member said she is a woman of passion and vision. Another one said she is always working, even when she says she's not, she is. Rest is not in her vocabulary. And another board member said she is the heart and soul of Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation. She is the co-founder of the Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation with Norma Logan, and without her, TBBCF would not be here, and we would not be where we are today. For that reason, she is the recipient of the 27th Mile Club, or Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award. And if you haven't figured out who this is, it is Sandy Maniscalco. from her fellow board members, a gift for her and Phil to help them with some of their travels. And we have another gift that's from a lot of the volunteers and people that have worked with her as well, and some flowers. So, John has some things behind him.
I feel my arm.
Thank you so much. Can I sit down? You can. Thank you, everyone. And I will say that trying to surprise Sandy, trying to surprise her and do this within this board meeting was not an easy accomplishment, by the way. But again, she is the heart and soul of Terry Broder Breast Cancer Foundation, and we would not be here without her. So thank you. Now,